Alright, so this is going to be kind of a bit of a different video for me. It's not a review, and none of these bags are actually going to get opened today, so I did want to mention that right off the bat, in case somebody stumbled on this video and you're looking for a review. It's not what this one's going to be, so you might want to find something different. But I'm thinking of this video almost like a vlog in a way, because I'm basically just going to be giving my opinions on the 2016 line of MREs. Basically just my thoughts and observations after taking a look at some of these for the very first time. One of the biggest problems with acquiring genuine government MREs is the simple fact that they're not supposed to be sold commercially. Because of that, you have to get them from places like eBay, maybe Amazon, somebody can find them on Craigslist, or if you know somebody who has connections, you might be able to get some from them. And military surplus stores will sometimes carry them too. But the simple fact that they have to go through quite a few hands before they get to you, first they're produced by the company, and then they're shipped to the government, and then they're shipped to different units all around the world. And then people will acquire them either by the case or individually, and at some point either sell them themselves or give them to somebody else to sell. And by the time you manage to get them, they could be 2, 3, 4, even 5 years old. And that's actually not too bad. I actually consider that relatively fresh for a genuine MRE. And that's actually a good argument for getting commercial MREs. The 3 contractors that make genuine MREs also make their own commercial ones, and other independent companies like MRE and Meal Kit Supply also make commercial MREs that are made up almost entirely of genuine MRE components. The big advantage is with all of those, you're generally getting very fresh product. And there certainly is a coolness factor associated with genuine MREs, but if you're looking to stockpile emergency food for a natural disaster or some other kind of emergency, you really want the freshest stuff you can get. And generally, the commercial stuff is going to be a lot fresher than the genuine ones, unless you have a really good source. So because of all that, I get pretty excited when I get a chance to try out some relatively fresh MREs. I actually have someone who has supplied me once in the past with MREs that were about 1.5 years, 2 years old, and he came through again. He's actually able to buy MREs from a military base commissary, and they tend to get MREs and TOTMs that are relatively fresh. So like I said, once again he was able to come through for me, and he was able to hook me up with 5 MREs from the 2016 line, and that's almost half of a case. I'm filming this video in June of 2017, almost halfway through 2017, and this is the first time I'm personally getting a chance to check out some 2016 MREs, if that gives you any idea. So another bonus about these is not only is it 5 relatively new MREs, but it's also 5 menus I've never had before. Some of them are brand new menus, and a couple are older menus that I just simply haven't had a chance to try before. So after that relatively long introduction, why don't we go ahead and take a look at these. As it turns out, all of these come from the Warnick Company. It would have been nice to get in a little variety of the different manufacturers, but this must have been a Warnick case. And as I said, all of them are from Warnick, and they do have the 3 different MRE bag designs represented. First thing that struck me about these when I opened the box is how thin the bags are. It seems as though they've gotten thinner over the years. I don't know if 2016 was the first year for that, or if it's happened earlier, but I was kind of surprised. It's actually, I'm used to these heavier gauge bags. This is also, let's see, this one right here is a Warnick one from a few years ago, and I mean, obviously you can't really see it, but it's definitely a thicker, tougher plastic. And they've always come with slightly different materials. Like some of them feel kind of rough, and this is very smooth. You can see it. I don't know if you can see it, but it reflects light easier. So it's definitely a different material, but it also is quite thin. And it seems to be pretty much exactly the same as many of the commercial MREs. This is a Meal Kit Supply one, and MRE uses the same thing. They use bags that look very much like genuine MRE bags, but they're thinner. And now, as it turns out, apparently genuine MRE bags are also thinner. Seems to be about exactly the same. And that got me to wondering why this happened. Is this just something that just developed over time? Have they gotten to the point where plastic has improved, where the thinner plastic will provide the same protection? Could it be a matter of cost cutting? You know, maybe they decided that they didn't really need to have the bag so thick, and making them half as thick cuts down on the cost. I really don't know. It doesn't seem like something the government would do to save money, but you never know. I even wondered if maybe it was an environmental concern. It seems like a lot of other countries, every country is going to have their own specifications and their own requirements for their rations. And it seems as though MREs have always placed emphasis on shelf life. having everything in retort pouches, having nice, thick, sturdy bags, and without too much concern for biodegradability. Biodegradability, is that a word? And I certainly don't think these bags are biodegradable, but the simple fact that they're a lot thinner than the older ones means that they will break down sooner. Maybe not as soon as the paper bag looking packaging of the Canadian IMP, but I don't think it would last as long as this would if it was left out in the open. And my last thought was maybe they just simply decided that the level of protection that they've always given MREs was kind of overkill, and they really didn't need as much protection as they gave them. These aren't really meant to be stored individually like this. They are supposed to be in a case, which would also help protect them. And there already is a high level of protection inside of these. All the components in here, except for the commercially packaged ones, are in retort pouches, which are also waterproof. And a lot of them even come with an inner bag that's sealed and also waterproof. So it does seem possible that they simply decided it wasn't necessary to have such a thick and strong bag in the first place. A while back I did a waterproof test on a genuine MRE, a commercial MRE, and a Canadian IMP. And the IMP, even though it is foil lined, it really didn't hold up to water at all. But the commercial one and the genuine one were completely 100% waterproof. If this bag isn't compromised, it's definitely protected from water. And despite being thinner, I am pretty confident that this is going to be the same way. So I guess that's enough talk about the bag itself. One other thing I want to explain is this sticker that's on here. You can see it has 08/2019 and $8.36. This is not part of the MRE. This is from the commissary where it was bought, and it's just a price sticker. But I noticed that none of these have date codes on them. So this apparently, because this date is in the future, apparently the 8/2019 is the test date from the case that these came from, which is really nice that they put that on, because otherwise there's really no way to date this unless it's a new menu, which this happens to be. So these cost $8.36 at the commissary, and they apparently are from August of 2016, which we'll find out when we actually get to the reviews and go inside of these. But I did want to explain that sticker before anybody has any questions about it. It does seem kind of funny that almost half of a case of MREs don't have date codes on them. Of course, generally, MREs are going to have either a date code stamped on the bag or printed on it. And even though I have seen them without date codes, it seems weird to think of like an entire case not having them. I don't know if they're moving away from date codes. I can't imagine that. And I'm kind of wondering, maybe somebody knows this, I'm almost wondering if it's a Warnick thing. If Warnick tends to not put date codes on some of their stuff. And the final thing I want to talk about is the menus themselves and why I chose these 5. Considering how many MREs I've tried over the years, it's pretty exciting to have not only some very fresh ones. I've never had anything newer than something that's been within about a year or so. Considering that these were apparently packed less than a year ago, these are going to be the freshest MREs I've ever had. That in itself is pretty exciting. As much fun as it can be to open up a 20, 25-year-old MRE and see what it looks like inside, it's a lot more pleasant to eat something that was made within the past year. And not only are these fresh, as I had mentioned earlier, it's 5 menus I've actually never had before. And also, most of them aren't the most exciting sounding menus, especially the last couple that I'm going to show you. They're some of the least exciting MREs I've ever heard of. But the first one we have is menu 21. It's a long name. Basically, it's lemon pepper tuna, but the name on it is Tuna Chunk Light Water Packed Lemon Pepper. I've done a tuna MRE before, but not the lemon pepper one. Lemon pepper replaced the regular one back in 2011. So these have been around for a while, but somehow I've managed to never have one. So looking forward to that. The other one that's been around for a while is the menu number 22, Asian-style beef strips with vegetables. This one was introduced in 2012 when it replaced chicken with dumplings. I've heard a lot of good stuff about this. Once again, I've never had one. And next we have a brand new one for 2016. So this was introduced the year that these came out, which is obviously part of the reason I've never had it. This is menu number 14, creamy spinach fettuccine. This is apparently a vegetarian meal, although they don't seem to write vegetarian on it anymore. That's interesting. Usually it would say vegetarian, but anyway, this is one, to be honest, I'm not really looking forward to that much. It actually doesn't sound very appetizing to me. As I said, this one was introduced in 2016, and it replaced ratatouille, another vegetarian meal. And I was under the impression ratatouille was a pretty popular one. Never really did a lot for me, but it seemed like it got a lot of good reviews. But it was only around for a few years, and now it's already been replaced by something, I don't know. We're going to have to see what this is like. It could be delicious. It just doesn't sound very appetizing to me. It's not something I'm really looking forward to, other than the fact that it's really new and something I've never had before. And that leaves us with two more MREs, and these are relatively new. One was introduced in 2015, and one is brand new for 2016. And the thing that strikes me most about these is that they have some of the most boring sounding names I've ever heard of for an MRE. I used to think ham slice was a very boring name, but at least it's ham. At least you know what you're getting. First is the one introduced in 2015, menu number 5, chicken chunks white cooked. This is also known as simply diced chicken. It sounds incredibly bland. I mean, it's just cooked chicken. And interestingly enough, when this came out in 2015, it replaced Mediterranean chicken, which is also known as chicken with feta and tomatoes, which is one of the most flavorful MREs I've ever had. It was also a pretty polarizing one. I liked it a lot. A lot of people hated it. It seemed like you either really liked it or really disliked it. People that disliked it said it tasted like puke or smelled like puke. And it was strong. The feta made it a very strong taste. So I can sort of understand why they would want to tone it down a little bit, but to go all the way to the extreme of just chicken chunks cooked. And it just kind of surprised me because they've made so many improvements with MREs over the years, improving the menus, increasing the menus, listening to soldiers and getting rid of menus that weren't popular. I don't know, this just sounds like something that would be out in the 1980s, just chicken chunks. And there you go, that's what it is, it's just chicken chunks. But no, it's from 2015, introduced 2015, and it's chicken chunks. So we're going to see what's in there. I will say that the Mediterranean chicken that this replaced, in 2010, that one actually replaced a similar sounding one. It was chicken breast. So, yeah, maybe they're just returning to that kind of a thing. And that just leaves us with this one. This is another one that was introduced in 2016, a brand new menu with a pretty odd sounding name. It's menu number 12, elbow macaroni in tomato sauce. It doesn't get much more basic than that. I'm almost thinking you can put the two of these together and at least you can have some chicken in your tomato sauce. But apparently this is another vegetarian one. It doesn't actually say anything on the bag about being vegetarian, but I believe this is going to be another one of the vegetarian meals. And this one replaced the spicy penne pasta. Kind of a similar thing, a pasta that was vegetarian, but at least that one was spicy and it did have the veggie crumbles, so it seemed like it had meat in it. Maybe this does too, I don't know. I haven't tried it, but I don't know. It just sounds really boring. And it's kind of funny with these two meals as being new ones, it almost seems like they're moving away from really tasty stuff, really flavorful stuff, I should say. Because not only is the Mediterranean chicken gone, but also stuff like buffalo chicken. Buffalo chicken was probably the spiciest US MRE I've ever had, which isn't to say it was incredibly spicy, but it did have some kick to it. And I'm almost thinking that they just really want to even the playing field and make everything a little bit more on the bland side, you know, figuring people can dress it up with hot sauce if they need to. But at least the grilled jalapeno pepper jack beef patty is still around. So whatever's behind the decisions to make the thinner bag and to make the more bland sounding entrees, good news is there's still 24 menus in 2 cases of MREs, and they're still working to improve them all the time. I hope you'll stay tuned in to see the reviews of these. These should be coming up soon. And the one last thing I did want to mention was, as I said, they do have the 3 different designs represented here. And on this design here, we have the 2 soldiers, I'm assuming sitting down to eat their rations. Have you ever noticed the profile of the guy on the left? Looks a lot like Donald Trump. At least to me it does. Not to get political, I'm not saying anything about Donald Trump, but I don't know. I just had noticed that when I was looking at the bag. So thank you for watching, and stay tuned for the reviews of these 2016 MREs.